Post game, game 3, we're live here. Michael Rand, Ryan Kostecka. Timberwolves win 102-97. It was not at all, Ryan, the kind of game I think they wanted to be in. It was low scoring. It was ugly. It was a clutch moments kind of game. It was a Jimmy Butler game. The Warriors that's probably how they have to script it with no Steph Curry. That was about as good as they could have scripted it, minus some of that late foul trouble. We'll get into that. But like they had the game they wanted to try to steal, and the Wolves still managed to find a way. Julius Randle triple-double, Anthony Edwards tremendous in the last 16 to 18 minutes after, frankly, a brutal first 30 minutes. He was great down the stretch. Wolves win a game that, that was one that felt like the Golden State could have pulled out, and they're probably kicking themselves right now that they didn't.
I think more than, Minnesota picking up this big win, this is as demoralizing as a loss as it gets for the Warriors. It really does. I mean, you nailed it. The Warriors did everything they had to do to win the game. They shot one less field goal. They forced 21 turnovers. They did everything they could to win this game. They were in it to the end, and to not come out on top, I don't think it gets any worse if you're the Warriors at this point, because you're looking at this like, man, we did everything we could. We got Kuminga was sensational. Kuminga had 30 tonight, which was incredible. Yeah. I mean, come on now. Jimmy, we knew the Jimmy game was coming with 33. Yeah. Jimmy played, what was it? He played how many minutes? 43 minutes. Yeah. Kuminga played 36 minutes. I mean, if you're the Warriors right now, you're just feeling you're just kicking yourself like, man, this was the game you had to win. This is the game you really needed, because you got to think it's only going to get tighter from here on out. On the flip side, if you're Minnesota, you're like, wow, like, Ant finally emerged like the player we all know he is. And in, like you said, the final 16, 18 minutes, this is why I picked the Wolves to make it to the NBA Finals. Yeah. Because of Anthony Edwards and what he can do when he decides to, I'm going to be the best player on the court. There's not a guy who can stay in front of me. And you knew he was feeling it when he hit that off-balance three from like the deep wing
over a Pachinski, yeah.
It was incredible. I mean, you knew he was feeling it. Randle was phenomenal. I think the best games Julius Randle plays are the ones where you don't realize how great he is until you see it in the end, because that tells you that he's not trying to do too much. He's playing within the flow of the offense, and you look up 24, 12, and 10. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Triple-double. Randle was incredible tonight. I thought McDaniels was sensational in the fourth quarter on Jimmy. Jimmy was, I think, 1 of 7 shooting the ball in the fourth quarter. He completely ran out of steam, and McDaniels had a lot to do that. His length really bothered Jimmy late, and it's a great win for the Wolves. It's a demoralizing loss for the Warriors, and I think I'm going to stick with my Wolves and 5s pick.
Yeah, I liked that too. I think it was it game? It must have been game 3. Against the Lakers. No, game 4, when they were up 2-1.
Yep.
This reminded me of that game, because in that game, you had Luka going for 38. The Lakers basically played the kind of game they wanted to play in that game, and that was the one, of course, where they went and played all the guys for the last 24. But that was the game where Luka had 38, LeBron 27. He almost had a triple-double. Hachimura had 23. Like they got everything they could have wanted from their stars and their role players in that game, and they still didn't beat the Wolves. And that's when, obviously 3-1's different than 2-1, but that's when you're like, okay, if they can't beat them when they've done all these things, how are they going to win enough games to win this series? I'm not saying that's what this is, because you could see if Golden State plays a similar game and is able to do the same things on Monday, again, tightish turnaround, you got to, kind of get back up for it. If they can do the same things they did tonight, they can certainly win game 4 and buy themselves get themselves that window to game 6, that bridge to game 6,
almost where
you're hoping Steph can come back if you're Golden State in that span. But you're right, demoralizing in the sense that they probably couldn't have scripted how that game went much better. And the Wolves, honestly, couldn't have given them much more, opportunity to play that game than they did tonight. I thought they were really letting Golden State dictate tempo and pace.
Yes, they
did.
In
that first half, it was 42-40 at halftime. They finally picked it up, got going on the break a little bit, got some things a little bit easier, but they still only scored 102. Like, they held Golden State under 100 for the third straight game, and that cannot be understated. Like, the defense on both sides I thought was tremendous, but again, it was Golden State. It was the kind of game Golden State wanted to play, and credit to Minnesota though. Like they've had these clutch games in the playoffs, and they've generally came out on top in these games against some more experienced players. LeBron, Luka, Jimmy Butler in this case, where you say that's not the kind of game the Wolves want to play, and yet they're still winning those games.
It's rare to see a team make this kind of a turnaround regular season to playoffs. When they were
Yes,
terrible in the clutch in the regular
this
season.
was
I
not
think
them. Yeah,
nope.
yeah, they're
And
one
I
of the
wonder if
worst.
a lot of it had to do with incorporating Randall, who's your best closing five, that kind of concept where you're trying to establish who you are. Ant didn't really want to take over late in the games. I mean, he kind of tried to, but he was really more deferring a lot. So I wonder if that was kind of part of it. And then something just clicked. They kind of know who their core guys are, and the core guys are always in the core and the clutches. Ant, Randall, and McDaniels. It's always those three, and then from there
Mm-hmm.
you mix and match. Is it Gobert
Yeah.
and Mike, or is it Nas and Dante, or even Nah at that
Mm-hmm.
point? And the team seems to really understand that and embrace that. I mean, tonight when Green found out, I mean, I thought it was brilliant of Finch to keep Gobert in there. It was
Yeah.
so smart to keep Rudy in there, let Rudy do his thing. I thought that was a great, coaching decision on his part, because typically in a game that close, he's not going to close with Rudy or Mike.
No.
He's going to go to, Nas, Reed, and Dante. And I thought his,
Mm-hmm.
going to Gobert, staying big, really affected, the Warriors. I thought Gobert was, didn't really score well, but he was phenomenal defensively. I mean, he affected
He was
so
great.
many shots.
Yeah.
It was so impressive. I do think this is a team that, like you talked about, their ability to, close in the clutch is so important, so vital for them. But they didn't just get it done offensively; they got it done on the defensive side of the ball, which I think that's
Yeah.
also really rare for this squad. They're really kind of finding their own, and you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing they're very comfortable playing multiple styles of basketball and being able to
Mm-hmm.
win multiple ways in the end, and
Yeah.
that's what makes them so dangerous. And on the flip
Yeah.
side, for the Warriors, you're looking at this game, you're just like, God dang, what more do
Yeah.
you have to do? And
Yeah.
you've got to win game 4 to give yourself a week off, to game
Yep.
6. And you're praying
Yep.
Steph comes back.
Mm-hmm. Jordan on X. We've talked about two
Okay.
of these things already, but I want to get to all three of the things you said. Randall, incredible. Yes.
Yep.
This team is clutch. Yes. The middle point he made, though, is a good one. Finch audible to Conley with Dante playing
Loved it.
poorly. And he did. I mean, Dante was terrible. I
Loved
think
it.
Dante's trying to do too much. This
Yes.
series feels personal because he used to be on the Warriors. He's got a grudge. Something's going on here. He's trying to do too much. He had 3 turnovers. He just wasn't playing in the flow. He was trying to do too much. He got cooked by Buddy Hield on that
Oh, yeah, he did.
3-pointer, and then he tried to come right back and get it back, and he didn't. And I don't know if he played after that, but Conley, 28 minutes. That's more than he has been playing in these playoffs. He's not the stat line's not going to jump out at you. 7 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, but he was a plus 13. He played pretty good defense. They try to pick on him, but he's pretty good. He's pretty crafty. He drew that late charge on Kevon Looney to get him out of the game to kind of seal that possession. And he was important in this game in the absence of anything else they could throw out there at point guard.
For everyone who, the whole Mike Conley slander of he's old, you can't play him in the clutch, you can't, why don't they trade him? Why don't they give the minutes to Rob because he's younger? I look, I'm not trying to disparage anyone, but those people don't know hoop. I'm going to call it like it is. Mike Conley is so vital to the Wolves, and you saw that tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime the Wolves offense bogged down, Mike was able to get them back into a rhythm, get them a good shot. He does such a good job of controlling the tempo and controlling the pace, for the Wolves on offense. And what he does is he really unleashes Gobert offensively. And even if Rudy doesn't get the points, their pick and roll they run with Rudy diving to the hoop and Mike kind of playing this little 2-on-1 game.
Yep.
What that does is all of a sudden defenses are forced to collapse, and Mike is so good at staying calm and finding the open shooter. I mean, he had 5 assists. He probably, if you include hockey assists, he probably had, 9, 10 total.
Yeah.
He's so good at thinking one play ahead, and this is what he does. It doesn't show up in the stat line, but look in the plus minus for the importance and the value of Mike Conley. And he understands when the game might be getting out of reach, and he really controls it. I mean, Mike was phenomenal tonight, like you said.
Yeah. Few Wolves fans were a little, not crabby, but arguing about style points, saying ugly game, but a win is a win in the playoffs. Wolves playing with their food again. They're playing with fire. Are they ever going to develop the killer instinct or continue winning ugly? Well, they won. It wasn't pretty, but they won. These are all replies to my call out for thoughts on the game. I'm like, this is the playoffs. They won the game. They won a road playoff game against, yes, no Steph Curry, but Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr. Like style points matter nothing in the playoffs.
No.
I didn't even think this was necessarily an ugly win. It was just a hard fought
No,
win. It was a hard fought win.
exactly. I mean, the point I would make is okay. OKC beat Denver by like 87 million points a couple nights ago. And then Denver won Game
Right.
3. Does it really
Yeah.
matter? It doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you
Right.
win or lose, winning like it's the Vin Diesel line from Fast Furious. Whether you win by like a second or a minute, winning is winning.
Yeah.
And that's all that
Winning is
matters for the
winning.
season.
Yeah. Winning is
And
winning.
I get the Wolves. They got to taste. Fans got to taste the Western Conference Finals last year. Now the expectations are high. I will say this team is much better than last year's squad, in my personal opinion. This team is battle tested, and they're winning the way you should. They're not. I don't think they're playing with their food. I thought playing with their food tonight. That's just kind of disparaging to the Warriors.
Yeah,
I thought the Warriors.
I thought the Warriors were really good tonight. I
Oh
thought
my
they were
god!
really good.
Defensively, they were incredible.
They were.
Honestly, if Ant doesn't go off like he does, the Warriors probably cruise to that win.
Yep.
Ant saved them and then open things up for Randall and the rest of the team.
Yep. And that's a point that someone just made on the stream right now. Is that RB
Yeah.
said not enough can be said around the stops of Warriors' momentum tonight by Ant in the third quarter. Usually the Warriors just run on that emotion, and that's a great point because he killed a lot of that momentum.
He
The
did.
dunk, the threes, like anytime they were starting to get some traction, he got them back into a flow, and then suddenly it was just too much for the Warriors to overcome, and they just couldn't get enough buckets in the last 6 or 7 minutes.
It was. I mean, he answered every call the way you want to start to answer. Except you can't talk about enough how good he was. I mean, Jimmy Butler knocked down a free throw at the 8:60 mark of the fourth quarter, put them up 5.
Yeah,
right after the Warriors
that was Jimmy's last point. That was Jimmy's last point, I think.
Wow. And then, all of a sudden, next thing you know, guess what happens? Julius Randle gets a bucket, Ant assist. Ant gets a bucket, Ant makes a 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Jaden McDaniels makes 2 free throws. Ant was the one getting the ball in that situation. Ant completely took over this game in every way you want to see from your star.
Yep.
And there was nothing the Warriors could do. I mean, they said they played great defense on them. Just like I said, great offense will almost always beat great defense. It really will.
Yep.
And Ant was living proof of that tonight.
Yep. You mentioned McDaniels. He didn't shoot a ton tonight, but he made some clutch shots. That 3 he made with 3:20 left after a great Randall rebound, I thought. Randall had some big rebounds. He went up and got some big rebounds tonight, that one. There's another one early, I think off of a Buddy Hield missed 3 when it was 93-89. He went up and got it, and then he got a 3 from Ant, got a 3 off of his assist. Like Randall just he's made some winning time plays in these playoffs that I don't think watching him at the beginning of the year to now, watching him in previous playoffs to now, like I think it's catching some people by surprise because I don't think that was part of his reputation at all until very recently.
His ability to, stay kind of composed in the fourth quarter is what's really caught me off guard, and just know the understanding and the awareness to know when he has the mismatch, but know when he draws the double team to kick. I think at the Knicks, the Knicks version of Randall, he was not kicking. He was trying to score. He's trying to do it all on his own. This version, he really trusts his teammates, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Finch and the ability the ability to help him see the game. And this team clearly trusts him, and it shows. Moving forward, if you're the Warriors, you need more from Podziemski. I think he's going to be the X factor going forward. Kuminga's not going to give you 30 every night, but 1 of 10, like you need more from him. And a lot of them were good looks, a lot of them were just in and out shots that don't drop.
Yeah.
But it's just you need more from them. And if you're the Wolves, you're sticking to your game plan, you're not panicking, and you're proving to yourself that, look, even if we get into a tight fourth quarter game against playoff Jimmy, we have a guy on the court who believes he's better than anyone else. And tonight he proved he was.
Podziemski's, I think he's a really good defensive player. I did not realize how good he was on defense. I think he's expending a lot of energy on that end too, because he's guarding Ant a lot. He's putting a lot of ball pressure on guys. He is up in their faces. I wonder if that's impacting his offense at all. But here's the thing, though. I mean, you get 33 from Jimmy, 30 from Kuminga.
Yeah.
Everybody else has got to get a little bit more. You're right. I mean, Hield had 14. That's not bad. But
that's fine. That'll work.
Nobody else had more than 7 beyond that. And you just can't have that. Draymond only had 2 in the game. I mean, he was kind of doing his usual defensive stuff, but he wasn't enough of a factor for them in this game. Jimmy absolutely answered the call, but Draymond came up small in this game and again fouled out. I think you, before we started recording, you took exception to some of the calls. I think the 5th call was weird. The replay where they called that he was pushing Gobert, pushing Randall into the play. that was questionable. The sixth one he absolutely earned. He was.
Oh yeah, he
he
fouled
was
McDaniels, no
basically
doubt.
he found McDaniels on the dunk. But he also it's weird. Like his reputation probably gets him in trouble in some situations, but sometimes it's also earned. So I don't know how
Yeah,
which way it goes. But he didn't do
balances
enough in
out.
this game. He didn't do this.
No,
He didn't do enough in this game.
no, Draymond's reputation balances out. I mean, the exceptions I had was like it was a second call and the fifth call. And look, I'll be honest. Been around the game a lot. When Scott Foster was announced as the head official tonight, my mind, I went, okay, you're going to remember Scott Foster from tonight's game, no matter what. There was going to be something that Scott Foster does where he kind of takes control of the game a little bit, and I think you saw that a little bit. I mean, not enough to affect the overall outcome. Because look, Draymond, you've got 5 fouls. What are you doing challenging Jaden McDaniels
Right.
at the rim like that?
Right.
What?
Gotta
Like,
let him
just
have that one.
you got to let him have it. You got to
Yep.
live. You got to see the bigger picture, and that's where the emotion of Draymond really hurts you. If you're the Warriors,
Yep.
like that's the one guy apart from Jimmy you can't lose in a game like this, and it kills you. But also, you start to understand just how stupid some fouls you pick up early in the games and how much they actually might affect you later on.
Yep.
You pick up a dumb foul here, and it's now it's the fourth quarter, and it changes everything.
Yep.
So I think overall with Draymond, it balances out. There's good, there's bad. I know a lot of people had a lot of hate for his tirade or speech he gave post game, and then you come out to learn last game. Then you come out to learn that he was dealing with the racism factor. That's kind of what's the whole thing.
Right.
And so if look, I grew up in the Bay Area. I've been I followed the Warriors since 1999. Draymond is with that guy where if he's on your team, you love him. If he's like against you, you hate him.
Yep.
But he does more good than bad. But I will, as a whole, he does more good than bad. But the bad is really, really bad when it does, and it really affects his team at the worst time. And if you're Curry, you got to have a talk with him. And if you're the Warriors, you have to regroup. You did a lot of good things tonight. Like I thought they did a great job controlling the pace and tempo early on, and just pushing the ball up court and not letting the Wolves defense set up, and so the Warriors can attack the mismatches, especially with Kuminga and Jimmy. That's what I really like to see with them. They've got to do that again. But if you're Minnesota, you kind of know what to expect it. And this is where I think the Warriors threw a haymaker today, and Minnesota they dropped to a knee, but they didn't get knocked out, and they responded with their own.
Yeah, and that's what that was why the game reminded me exactly of Lakers Game 4, where it was like they went for the knockout punch. They tried to get back in that series, and it just didn't. Anything they threw at them just wasn't quite enough in that game or in this one. It should be a good game Monday, though. I mean, Game 4s and these Game 4s are always great, especially when the home team is trailing 2-1.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's desperation time. But the Wolves also should have desperation too, because they know, hey, this is an opportunity to get it to 3-1. You lessen the likelihood that Curry can make it back, and you get a chance to close it out at home. Like there's a lot. This isn't like they won't come into this casual. They know this is they should treat this as down 1, down 2-1, because it feels kind of like that in that whoever wins this game could have an upper hand in the series eventually.
That's my thought too. I mean, if you're the Warriors, you think you win Game 4, you still think you have a very good chance of winning this series, especially because you believe you're going to get Steph back for Game 6. I'm questionable about it, but you believe you get Steph back for Game 6, no matter the outcome at that point.
You at least hope,
Exactly. So, and if you're the Wolves, I mean, this is the type of game where are you a real championship contender, or as the fans say, are you going to play with your food a little bit? I want to see the Wolves come out like they did Game 2 and really just put it onto the Warriors, take the crowd out of the game. And, this is the game where you really show, hey, we are a team that evolves, that has matured a lot.
Yep.
And so 100%. If you're the Warriors, it's do or die. If the Warriors if the Warriors lose Game 4, I mean, they're celebrating Minnesota after Game 5. I put money on that.
Yeah,
so we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Late one, though. Real late for us.
Yeah, 9 o'clock. Yeah, probably more like 9:20, because there's the game before that one, too. Which one is it? I can't remember what it is Monday, but
Boston.
This whole playoffs has been great. It's just been tremendous.
Let me end with one thing real quickly.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, Monday night, come on, Utah Jazz win the lottery. My old team, come on, give them.
There you go.
Give them Cooper Flag. It's
you
a
need
franchise
something.
that has struggled. I need
something
to look forward to. So
they need something.
The only thing I'm going to end with.
We'll see. Is that between games? How do they do that? I can't remember when
before the game. So it's the lottery the 9 o'clock start, because it's get the lottery.
But there's a game. Isn't there a game before that?
Celtics.
Though? Okay, so Knicks Celtics, then
then this game. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Well, Knicks Celtics will be interesting too, because Boston ran them today, 115-93. That was more what we expected from this series after the Knicks stole 2 in Boston. This is nuts. I would not be surprised if Boston went 4-2 after going down 2-0.
I would not be surprised either at all. It seemed like Boston just needed to see something go through the hoop a little bit, kind of like the Wolves did a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
And from
Yep.
there, it's just a complete onslaught. And
Yeah.
look,
We'll
Tibbs
see,
has
though.
run his guys into the ground. New York looked exhausted today, just
Yeah.
absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get any easier.
It will not. Yeah, late night Monday, but we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Ryan, appreciate it. We'll see you then.
Thank you.